Li Shu traveled to the courtyard of Siheyuan, which was 65 years old. At the beginning, he was pressured by a foolish pillar to ask his sister to marry him. Coincidentally, my father had just passed away, and all the birds had set their sights on their own houses, waiting to become extinct. Fortunately, at this point, the system awakens, and as long as you dare to resist, you can receive rewards. What a silly thing, do you also deserve to marry my sister? Li Shu just kicked up and directly cut off the life root of the foolish pillar. Zhonghai needs help. A punch caused a concussion on the spot. Does Jia Zhang like to throw tantrums? Give her 2 teeth a slap. Qinhuai Ru Seeks Protection. After rushing to the bottom, he turned his face and didn't recognize anyone. Stick memes stealing things. Break your arm with a single stick. Years later, silly pillar went bankrupt, Zhonghai had no elderly care, and Qinhuai Ru wandered on the streets. Li Shu, on the other hand, married his beloved wife and lived a happy life. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Travel to 65 years. You are listening at novel full.audio. In 1965, the new year is approaching. The 4 or 9 cities are peaceful, and the people are busy buying New Year's goods for their own homes. Prepare to welcome the arrival of the new year. Laughter and joy can be heard everywhere. Everywhere is shrouded in a strong New Year flavor. At this moment, the courtyard at number 95 Nanluogu Lane is also decorated with lights and decorations. Bang! Bang bang! The sound of firecrackers is often heard throughout the yard. And at this moment, in the right ear chamber of the main courtyard, with the sound of firecrackers outside, Li Shu was awakened and suddenly opened his eyes. Looking around, Li Shu found himself in a strange and dilapidated house. Where is this? At this moment, the calendar hanging on the wall caught Li Shu's attention. 1965. When he saw the year marked above, Li Shu was completely bewildered. Subsequently, one memory after another was infused into Li Shu's mind. Is this a courtyard house? As memories continued to spread, Li Shu finally confirmed his time traveling. In the previous life, Li Shu was a very ordinary farmer. Due to the sudden increase in company business recently, Li Shu has to work overtime until early morning every day to finish work. Over time, this sleep naturally becomes insufficient. It was another day of hard work, and Li Shu couldn't bear it anymore. He lay down on the table, planning to take a nap. Who knew that as soon as he woke up, his soul penetrated into the same named Li Shu in the courtyard. Subsequently, Li Shu received the memory of the original owner. The original owner is 25 years old this year, and he has a 20-year-old sister named Tang Ying. My younger sister is the daughter of a long-time friend of the original owner's father. Due to a serious illness, I entrusted my daughter to the care of the original father a year ago. Therefore, Li Shu and Tang Ying are not siblings. But over the past year, the two of them have gotten along very well. However, the good times did not last long. Just a month ago, the original owner's father also passed away due to illness. Now, only Li Shu and Tang Ying are left to rely on each other. Fortunately, when the original owner's father passed away, 2 rooms were left behind. One is the left vestibule between the front and middle courtyards, and the other is the ear room on the right side of the main courtyard. Li Shu usually lives in the ear room, while Tang Ying lives in the hall room. Without the protection of the original owner's father, the residents of the courtyard began to focus on the houses of Li Shu and Tang Ying. Especially Jia Zhang, now her family of 5 lives in one room, it's really crowded. Therefore, he often allied with Zhonghai and planned to forcibly occupy the houses of Li Shu and Tang Ying. Not only that, Tang Sakura is only 20 years old and has a beautiful appearance. Nature has attracted the attention of many single men in the hospital. The most infatuated one among them is Heyuzhu. But Tang Ying has no feeling for Heyuzhu at all. In the past, when the original owner's father was still alive, Heyuzhu dared not be too arrogant. However, with the passing of the original owner's father, Heyuzhu also completely removed his hypocritical mask. He began to harass Tang Ying non-stop, forcing her to marry him. As a brother, Li Shu certainly wouldn't sit idly by. But who would have thought that just because Li Shu helped Tang Ying stand out, he was beaten up by Heyuzhu. After Li Shu got out of bed, he found a mirror on the table. After taking a photo, Li Shu realized that his face was actually bruised and purple. Silly Zhu, this crazy dog, how ruthless he is. Looking at his swollen face, Li Shu's heart suddenly rose with a layer of anger. Bang bang. Bang, bang, bang. Just as Li Shu put down the mirror. Suddenly, a rough knocking sound came from outside the door. Sun Tzu, open the door for me, I know you're inside. Immediately after, the irritable voice of Silly Zhu came from outside the door. Just listening to this guy's voice, you know he must be here to cause trouble. Damn it, if only I could have worked with this crazy dog. Although Li Shu was also very angry, he had to admit one thing. This foolish pillar is not a match for anyone in the entire yard when it comes to fighting. Therefore, even if Li Shu had 1,000 kinds of anger in his heart, he could only endure it at this moment. Ding! Suitable host detected, starting binding now. Congratulations to the host, the real man system has been successfully bound, the beginner gift pack is ready, will the host claim it immediately? At this moment, a mechanical electric current-like sound suddenly came from Li Shu's ear. System. Yeah. I am a traveler, so the system is naturally standard. Sun Tzu, quickly open the door. At this moment, the silly pillar outside the door is still violently knocking on the door. So Li Shu decisively received the novice gift package. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Grandmaster Level 8 Extremes Fist. As the sound of the system came quickly, Li Shu quickly felt that his body was beginning to undergo changes. The bruise on his face had actually dissipated by half in just a few seconds. Immediately after, the emaciated figure also began to become stronger. Li Shu just casually pinched his fist and felt a strong force gathering in his palm. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, there was another rough doorstep outside the door. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that Silly Zhu had started kicking the door with his foot. Nimas. After completing his adaptation, Li Shu immediately opened the door. Sun Tzu, today. Bang. Just as Silly Zhu was about to speak, Li Shu kicked him in the face. Chapter 2. Kicking the root of a stupid pillar with one kick. You are listening at novel full.audio. Bang. Li Shu's powerful kick kicked Silly Pillar several meters away. Until Silly Pillar suddenly fell to the ground. The whole scene suddenly heard a loud noise. This kick almost kicked Silly Zhu out of his lunch today. Li Shu, who is usually docile, not only has a tough attitude today, but also dares to take action against himself. Stupid Zhu was very puzzled at this moment. But more importantly, it's still frustrating. You little brat, how dare you kick me? After all, Silly Zhu is constantly swaying, so his body is very strong. Plus the kick just now, Li Shu didn't give it his all. So soon, Silly Zhu stood up again. The foolish pillar, who has always had a small belly and chicken intestines, has now been kicked by Li Shu, who has always looked down upon. In addition, this kid has always opposed marrying Tang Ying. New grudges and old grudges are expanding wildly in Silly Zhu's heart at this moment. In a fit of rage, Silly Zhu picked up a brick beside him and rushed towards Li Shu. Heyuzhu, what do you want to do? Originally, Li Shu was already prepared and took this opportunity to beat the foolish pillar well. But at this moment, a sharp roar suddenly came from the hallway. Li Shu and Silly Zhu's attention were instantly drawn together. Step by step. Quickly, there was a rapid sound of footsteps coming from the courtyard. I saw a graceful young girl running over. She deliberately avoided the silly pillar and then blocked in front of Li Shu. Brother, are you okay? The visitor is none other than Tang Ying, the younger sister of Li Shu. At this moment, she stood in front and turned her head to look at Li Shu behind her. During the questioning, his face was full of nervousness. It's okay. Li Shu waved his hand and then smiled slightly. Sun Tzu, besides hiding behind cherry blossoms and being a turtle grandson, what else can you do? But this can be considered as completely provoking Silly Zhu. He immediately picked up the bricks and then straight-faced Li Shu standing behind Tang Ying. That mouth has never stopped from the beginning. I've been spraying feces all over my mouth. Zhu, please keep your mouth clean. The most important reason why Tang Ying cannot accept Silly Zhu is that he has a bad mouth. Silly Zhu now openly insults his brother in front of him. Where can Tang Ying tolerate it? Turtle's son, do you dare to come out and fight me alone? But at this moment, Silly Zhu was too lazy to argue with Tang Ying. Li Shu's kick just now really hurt Silly Zhu. Stupid Zhu, full of anger, now only wants to recover 10 times. So Silly Zhu continued to hold the bricks and shouted angrily at Li Shu. What's wrong with this? Due to Silly Zhu's overly arrogant voice, Zhonghai, an elder in the middle courtyard, including Jia's daughter.In.Law Qinhuai Ru, as well as several households. They heard some noise outside the house, so they all put on their clothes and walked out. Grandpa, you came just in time. If there is no outcome to this matter today, Zhu, must make the whole yard restless. As soon as Silly Zhu saw Zhonghai walk out, he quickly straightened his stomach. Then he pointed to the big footprint on his stomach. With a face full of anger, he said. Zhonghai is such a smart person, how could he not understand? Li Shu, how could you kick someone? Zhonghai, who was eager to protect the calf, immediately turned his head to look at Li Shu. The eyes were filled with disgust and hatred. That's it. Qinhuai Ru stood up at this moment and helped out. Li Shu, you're going too far. Am I excessive? Upon hearing this, Li Shu smiled. He immediately extended his head and pointed to the bruises on his face that had not yet dissipated. I was beaten like this by the silly pillar yesterday, why didn't you guys jump out? As soon as Li Shu's words were spoken, Qinhuai Ru, Zhonghai, and several other residents immediately shut their mouths. Li Shu had already anticipated such a situation. Zhonghai, with all his heart set on hoping that when he grows old, he will have the foolish pillar take care of him. As for Qinhuai Ru, she now sees silly pillar as her reliance. Therefore, they unconditionally support anything that is foolish. You deserve it, grandson. Although Zhonghai stopped speaking, Silly Zhu shouted. This crazy dog still held a brick and looked angrily at Li Shu. Grandpa, don't you care? Zhu has been scolding my brother all along. Tang Ying couldn't bear to listen anymore, so she thought of asking Zhonghai to help regulate it. Zhu was right. However, Zhonghai's face instantly darkened and he shouted coldly, Li Shu was beaten yesterday, and he deserved it. You. When Tang Ying heard these words, she was so angry that she clenched her fist on the spot. She could never have imagined that an old man who usually likes to reason would openly protect silly pillar today. Sakura, please move away. The stomach pain is still continuing. Silly Zhu didn't want to waste so much time anymore, so this guy picked up the bricks and rushed towards Li Shu. You dare. But Tang Ying said nothing and didn't let go. She opened her hands tightly in front of Li Shu. Get out of my way. How could a foolish pillar with an explosive mentality care so much? In a fit of anger, silly pillar immediately pulled Tang Ying open with one hand, and then picked up the bricks and threw them at Li Shu. How dare you drag my sister? Li Shu was instantly enraged and kicked out with a powerful kick, accurately hitting under the silly pillar. Chapter 3. One Palm Fan Halo E Zhonghai. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ah. Only Su Damao had experienced this kind of egg pain firsthand before. But now, it has actually been implemented on Silly Zhu. As both men, even if Silly Zhu could endure it any longer, he couldn't bear the intense pain. Quickly, the entire scene immediately heard a sharp scream of pain piercing into the bone marrow. Where else does Silly Pillar have the strength to grab the bricks now? The excruciating pain of being kicked made Silly Zhu roll in pain on the spot. Although he tightly covered himself with both hands, he still couldn't alleviate even the slightest bit of pain. Silly Pillar. Qinhuai Ru is still thinking of finding a suitable opportunity to marry Silly Zhu in the future. But now Silly Zhu was kicked hard by Li Shu. Can that thing like Silly Pillar still work in the future? Qinhuai Ru, whose mind was full of panic, rushed up to check on Silly Zhu's condition. Li Shu, how dare you openly beat someone else? Believe it or not, I'll take you to the police station now. Qinhuai Ru is not the only one who cares about Silly Pillars. An old man Yi Zhonghai followed closely and rushed forward. However, at this moment, Silly Zhu's face was full of pain, and he tightly covered his lower body with both hands. Even if Qinhuai Ru said something, Silly Zhu didn't react at all. Seeing this situation, Yi Zhonghai was instantly angry. He threatened to send Li Shu to the police station and have Director Zhang handle it. Grandpa, don't be angry yet. My brother. He didn't mean to. Tang Ying was really angry when she saw Yi Zhonghai, and immediately frightened her into standing up. Although Tang Ying was also puzzled, her usually submissive brother Li Shu was so masculine today. But after all, he kicked in that sensitive area of Silly Pillar. If you really kick someone out, at least. My brother is really going to have a hard time. Now that her father has passed away, Tang Yinka only has one relative like Li Shu. She couldn't just watch Li Shu being sent to the police station. Humph. But where could Yi Zhonghai listen to Tang Ying's words at this moment? After snorting coldly, he immediately warned, if there is really something wrong with the pillar, I will definitely take legal action. Grandpa, this. Yi Lao Go, you said it yourself. Just as Tang Ying was trying to persuade, he was interrupted by Li Shu halfway through. And Li Shu's way of addressing Yi Zhonghai was like making Yi Zhonghai, who was already angry, even more furious. What do you call me? Yi Zhonghai immediately stood up and walked towards Li Shu with a face full of anger. Until he came to Li Shu. Yi Lao Go. Li Shu was afraid that the old man might not hear clearly, so he deliberately stretched out each word. At this moment, Yi Zhonghai's face was completely tense. At this age, Yi Zhonghai had never been insulted in person like this before. Who in the entire courtyard doesn't call out, Grandpa, when they see themselves? But today, Li Shu, this little brat, actually cursed himself as an old dog. Damn it. Yi Zhonghai, who was boiling with anger, immediately swung his right hand to show off to Li Shu. Pop. But Li Shu's speed was noticeably faster. He just slapped Yi Zhonghai in the face with lightning speed. Under the power of the Grandmaster Level 8 Extremes Fist. This slap knocked out 2 teeth in Yi Zhonghai's mouth on the spot. Immediately after, Yi Zhonghai turned around and collapsed to the ground with a loud bang. Lao Yi. This scene happened to be seen by a middle-aged woman who had just walked out the door. She rushed up in a hurry. Although the old lady kept gently patting Yi Zhonghai's face. But at this moment, Yi Zhonghai's brain had already experienced a slight concussion. Consciousness has become blurred. So, there is no response at all. At this moment, the other residents on site were all stunned. They couldn't believe it, Li Shu, who has always been timid. Today, I dare to take action against Silly Pillar and Yi Zhonghai one after another. Hitting someone. Li Shu hit someone. At this point, Qinhuai Ru's anger level had also reached its highest. She must make Li Shu pay a painful price. So, this matter must escalate today. So soon, Qinhuai Ru pulled at her loud voice and shouted desperately in the courtyard. Jia Zhang originally used to store shoe soles in the house to earn some household income. Not long after, I heard my daughter.In.law shouting outside. Knowing that something had happened, Jia Zhang immediately rushed out of the house. At this glance, Jia Zhang was immediately startled. Silly Zhu and Zhonghai both fell to the ground. Hitting someone. Li Shu hit someone. These two people are usually the most willing to help their Jia family. Jia Zhang immediately rushed to the front yard and shouted loudly several times at the top of her voice. Quickly, Yan Bugui, the three elders in the front yard, as well as Yan Jicheng and Yu Li, the couple, and several other residents. After hearing the sound, everyone put on their clothes and walked out of the door. And Su Damao and Lu Xiaoyi in the backyard, including the second uncle's bangs, were already close together. Upon hearing Qinhuai Ru shouting, he also rushed out of the door. Soon, the courtyard was filled with people. It's like holding a whole house meeting. Li Shu, you're really going too far, you've beaten silly Zhu and Lao Yi like this. After understanding the situation, the two gentlemen immediately stared at Li Shu together. Subsequently, Lu Haizhong proposed, today's matter must be dealt with in accordance with the law. Chapter 4. Two big Forsymen cry for Jia and Zhang. You are listening at novel full.audio. That's right. We must take this little brat to the police station and have him eat a good meal. With Lu Haizhong as the leader, Jia Zhangshi immediately followed suit. Soon, other people in the yard also joined in. Only Su Damao remained silent at this moment. Damao, why aren't you making a sound? Lu Xiaoa tugged at Su Damao's hem and asked softly. What sound am I making? Su Damao looked at the silly pillar lying on the ground, his hands constantly covering it. I simply don't want to feel too satisfied in this heart. Usually, the person who likes to bully oneself the most in the entire yard is this silly pillar. Now that you can see the crumpled appearance of the silly pillar, Su Damao is certainly the happiest person in the whole hospital. As for Zhonghai. But anyone with a bit of brain can tell that Zhonghai has long treated silly Zhu as his own son. Therefore, every time silly Zhu fights and causes trouble, Zhonghai will hastily end up as a master. Such blatant favoritism has long displeased Su Damao. Today happened, and the two people I detest the most in the entire yard are now lying on the ground. Su Damao's stomach is now filled with joy. So, how could he possibly help to agree? Uncle and aunt, please don't send my brother to the police station. He was really just careless. However, Su Damao's silence did not hinder the development of the entire matter. As more and more people on site agreed. As Li Shu's younger sister, Tang Ying's heart also began to panic. Judging from the scene, they were determined to send their brother to the police station. If that were the case, my brother's life would be completely over. Therefore, Tang Ying quickly stood up and pleaded with everyone present. You little rascal, there's no place for you to speak here. As soon as Tang Ying finished speaking, she was pushed away by Jia Zhang's hand. And in this mouth, there is a slow stench. Nima. Li Shu was furious when he saw this, you're not old enough to die. How dare you curse my sister? Pop. Li Shu rushed over quickly and slapped Jia Zhang's face with a fiery slap. Jia Zhang, who had no time to defend herself, was knocked down on the spot. At this moment, her cheeks were hot and red. 5 palm prints are clearly visible on her face. The pain should not be too intense. If it weren't for what they saw with their own eyes, Lu Haizhong, Yan Bugui, Qinhuai Ru and others would not have been able to believe it. Li Shu dared to openly beat Jia and Zhang in front of so many people. And starting with it is also very heavy. Li Shu, You're really going too far. I have to take you to the police station today. Now that Zhonghai is not paying attention to everyone, the foolish pillar cannot recover for a while. As the second uncle, Lu Haizhong's addiction to officialdom immediately arose. Surprisingly, Li Shu didn't take his second uncle seriously. He was no longer polite and issued a warning again. However, this momentum is clearly much less. Hitting someone. This little brat hit someone. At this moment, Jia Zhang lay directly on the ground and began to splash. She cried while pointing at Li Shu, which was all sorts of insults. You dare to curse, right? But Li Shu is not afraid at all. Seeing Jia Zhang's mouth spraying feces at him now, Li Shu stepped forward again. Pop. Another heavy slap hit Jia Zhang's face. And the force of this slap was clearly even greater than the slap just now. Knock out two of Jia Zhang's teeth on the spot. Mom. Qinhuai Ru saw the situation and quickly rushed forward. By constantly patting Jia Zhang's face, Jia Zhang gradually regained consciousness. However, the sharp pain on this cheek still persists. Ah! Why is my life so hard? Lao Jia, have you seen it? However, after Jia Zhang regained consciousness, he continued to throw tantrums. But she no longer dared to curse Li Shu, but instead called out to her long-dead husband. Li Shu, You're just not something. Qinhuai Ru now wished she could stab Li Shu to death. But she doesn't have the courage at all. So he could only turn his head to look at the bangs and shout, Second Master, why don't you deal with Li Shu? Old Lu, my family's old E was beaten up like this by that little coward Li Shu. Why don't you deal with him? At this moment, a woman who had been guarding Zhonghai's side also urged him. Soon, a large crowd of people appeared on the entire scene to join in. Everyone is shouting for Lu Haizhong to bring Li Shu to justice. Okay, I'll handle this matter. The average bangs are at this moment. With the support of everyone, Lu Haizhong immediately turned his head to look at Li Shu. Li Shu, are you leaving on your own, or should I arrange for someone to forcibly take you to the police station? Between the words, there is a strong sense of threat. Brother. Tang Ying saw that the situation had reached this point and knew that it could never be salvaged. At this moment, she could only tightly grasp Li Shu's arm with one hand. She plans to advance and retreat with Li Shu. Sakura, don't worry, they can't move me. Li Shu's face was filled with a smile from beginning to end. He lightly patted Tang Ying's hand behind her and then looked into the bangs. Are you going to take me to justice? Li Shu gave a cold smile and then said, That's great. Then I'll expose all the dirty things in the yard. Chapter 5. Each harbors his own devils. You are listening at novel full.audio. Dirty thing. What? What dirty thing? Yan Bugue, who had not spoken much, stood up at this moment. He. Li Shu grinned coldly and said, Yan Bugue, you don't know that silly Zhu steals the public's food all year round, do you? As a cook in the cafeteria, silly Zhu wants to say that he has never stolen any public dishes. Such words, even if told to a fool, would not be believed. Sure enough, as soon as Li Shu said this, the foolish pillar lying on the ground, who was originally in excruciating pain below. That expression instantly became flustered. Including Qinhuai Ru, she also had a nervous expression at this moment. Because Qinhuai Ru is the person who knows this matter the most. Every time silly Zhu steals vegetables from the factory, most of them are distributed to Qinhuai Ru. Qinhuai Ru has 3 children to raise here, so she enjoys it tirelessly. Even though she knew it was the dish stolen by silly Zhu, she still ate it without fail. What we're talking about now is your assault, you. Please don't digress from the topic. Lu Haizhong never speaks fluently. Seeing Li Shu suddenly mention the matter of silly pillar stealing public vegetables, his words became even more insidious. Can I change the topic? Li Shu immediately turned his head to look at Lu Haizhong and said, now, is this courtyard civilized and advanced? Yeah. Lu Haizhong nodded without even thinking about it. If I expose the ugly incident of silly pillar to the police station, this courtyard will still be a civilized and advanced quadrangle in the future. When Li Shu's words reached this point, Lu Haizhong suddenly reacted. Because the quadrangle courtyard was recently selected by the street office as a civilized and advanced quadrangle courtyard. Don't underestimate this title. In the future, it will be much easier for the residents and children in the courtyard to go to school with it. Even for children's further education, many schools prioritize admitting children from civilized and advanced courtyard houses. Lu Haizhong has 3 sons of his own, among which the youngest Lu Guangfu is currently attending school. If today the title of civilized and advanced quadrangle courtyard is removed due to the foolish pillar incident, it would be troublesome for my youngest son to pursue further education. And Zhonghai. Li Shu saw that Lu Haizhong was silent, so he began to point his spear directly at Zhonghai. My old E is definitely doing well and sitting upright. A woman saw that Li Shu was actually going to make fun of her own man. She immediately assured everyone. Okay. But as soon as Li Shu heard this, he immediately laughed. I was beaten into a pig's head by a silly pillar last night, and now I still have bruises on my face. I want to ask, how did Zhonghai mediate at that time? Why am I being beaten by silly Zhu, but silly Zhu can be okay? As soon as Li Shu spoke these words, the old lady instantly fell silent. Even including the second uncle Lu Haizhong and the third uncle Yan Bugui, there is no answer. After all, the bruises on Li Shu's face are still there, although most of them have dissipated. Zhonghai avenged himself and used his identity as a master to support the foolish pillar. If I really report such shameless behavior to the police station, at that time, all the children in the entire yard won't be able to get into good schools. Why did Li Shu dare to publicly beat up foolish pillars, Zhonghai, Jia Zhang, and others in front of so many people? Because he knew that the entire yard looked like it was a mutual aid. But in reality, everyone has their own ulterior motives. Therefore, once their personal interests are touched upon, soon, the so-called mutual assistance will become a joke. Sure enough, as soon as Li Shu's words were spoken, everyone at the scene fell silent. Because they don't want their children to be unable to complete their education due to being foolish and easy. My brother beat up silly Zhu, that's also because silly Zhu hit my brother last night, and now the two sides are even. Tang Ying stopped talking about bringing Li Shu to justice when she saw everyone. She thinks she should do something for her brother. So soon she stood up again and described Li Shu's beating of the foolish pillar as a counterattack. As for an old man, that was because he was leading the way and then had to hit my brother, that's why I fought back. Subsequently, Tang Ying also rationalized Li Shu's violent attack on Zhonghai. What about my mom? But Qinhuai Ru knew that her mother-in-law, Jia Zhang, had not offended Li Shu's siblings. She is being beaten now, Li Shu must give an explanation. Grandma Jia. She deserves it, who made her mouth stink. Tang Yinggang was about to give an explanation, but halfway through, he was interrupted by Li Shu. And Li Shu's explanation was like adding another spark to Qinhuai Ru, who was already angry. Li Shu, you bastard. I must report to the police station and have Director Zhang. Qinhuai Ru, who was furious, was determined to bring Li Shu to justice, but was soon interrupted by Yan Bugui's wave of his hand. I said Huai Ru. Just now, my sister-in-law publicly insulted Tang Ying, which everyone heard. Immediately after, Yan Bugui glanced at Qinhuai Ru and said, so Li Shu was not wrong. She deserved to be beaten. Third Master, Li Shu hit my mother.In.Law, why are you? Qinhuai Ru, why can't you distinguish between good and bad words? Lao Yen is right, don't meddle in it. Qinhuai Ru wanted to fight for it again, but was soon interrupted by second grandpa Lu Haizhong. You. Qinhuai Ru finally realized that they were protecting their children in order to smoothly pursue education in the future. So I don't plan to bring Li Shu to justice. That is to say, her mother.In.Law was beaten by Li Shu for nothing. Such selfish behavior made Qinhuai Ru's teeth clench with anger. Chapter 6. Li Shu's Strategy. You are listening at novel full.audio. I believe that no one wants our title of civilized and advanced quadrangle to be revoked, right? Li Shu saw that Yan Bugui and Lu Haizhong cared so much about this title. It can be seen that the two of them are really considering their own son's matter. Therefore, Li Shu must go further at this moment. He looked at everyone present, so he asked loudly. As soon as Li Shu spoke these words, the people present immediately began to discuss in a low voice. After all, families with children are not just Yan Bugui and Lu Haizhong. Children from other families are also waiting for school and further education. Everyone has also seen that I, Li Shu, am not a street wanderer who likes to hit people randomly. Today, I did indeed beat up stupid Zhu, but that's also revenge for being beaten by him last night. And Zhonghai, that's because he's a double standard. As for Jia Zhang, who never dies, it's purely because of her bad breath. Let me ask everyone, have I ever touched or smelled of anyone else besides them? No one on site came forward to question what they had just said. Li Shu can be certain that the people present do not want the title of civilized and advanced quadrangle to be revoked. After knowing this, Li Shu's next tasks became much easier to handle. He just needs to bring out silly Zhu, Zhonghai, and Jia Zhang separately for explanation. Do it yourself today, that's for a reason. It's not unreasonable. If today I, Li Shu, are brought to justice by you, I will be taken to the police station. I will definitely expose all the ugly things in the yard. At that time, everyone in Nanluoga Lane will know that the people in our courtyard at number 95 are not behaving properly. Subsequently, the title of civilized and advanced quadrangle will be revoked. All children's education and advancement in the yard will be affected. Li Shu has already said the soft words earlier. But if you insist, he definitely can't fall behind. After all, a combination of hard and soft measures is the best way to handle it. These two statements also indicate that Li Shu had absolutely no intention of targeting others. But if others insist on turning themselves over to the police station for legal action, Li Shu would not sit idly by. Completely tarnish the reputation of the yard. At that time, not only children's education and academic advancement will be greatly affected. Even the people in the entire courtyard, once they leave the gate of the courtyard, will be pointed at by other courtyard residents. In these days, reputation is a golden signboard. Even if you don't have a good reputation, at least you can't let your reputation go bad. This principle is understandable to those present. I think Li Shu is right. After all, Yan Bugui was an elementary school teacher, and he was the first to understand what Li Shu meant. Li Shu's assault today is completely justified. And his youngest son Yan Jiquang is still waiting for school and further education. Why do you think it's because of the silly pillar, the talkative Zhonghai, and the already bad-mouthed Jia Zhang? Let your own children suffer along with you. Lao Lu, what do you think? Yan Bugui is the lightest among the three masters. This matter still needs to be combined with the standing of the second uncle in the bangs in order to have a result. So Yan Bugui turned his head to look at Lu Haizhong and asked. My words. Lu Haizhong is an official fan, but also a father. His youngest son Lu Guangfu is also in school. Now that Li Shu's words are so clear, he is only targeting silly pillars and Zhonghai. It has nothing to do with others. Therefore, Lu Haizhong also wants to nod. However, Li Shu, you're quite skilled at using the reputation of a quadrangle to force everyone to release you. There is also Zhonghai who can clearly see Li Shu's strategy. Since being knocked unconscious by Li Shu's slap, and Yi has been patting Zhonghai's face all the time, attempting to awaken Zhonghai again. It was also Li Shu who deliberately left his hand and didn't exert much force, so Zhonghai woke up in no time. I happened to hear Li Shugang's words just now. And Zhonghai is such a smart person, he naturally understood it as soon as he heard it. He. Lao Go, today is a private matter between me, you, and silly Zhu. Don't bring anyone else in. Li Shu saw that Zhonghai had regained consciousness and immediately corrected his statement. We must not give Zhonghai the opportunity to incite others. But you are the master of this courtyard. If you really plan to take me to the police station, I don't mind. Anyway, silly Zhu beat me up like a pig's head last night, and then he'll have to squat with me. And you avenge yourself publicly and openly protect the foolish pillar, you also have to go to the bureau. Based on Li Shu's understanding of Zhonghai. This immortal, the most coveted thing is the power in his hands. If it really gets to the police station, once the matter is made public, his position as a master will definitely not be guaranteed. Without power, Zhonghai is nothing. Li Shu didn't believe it anymore, he would choose to die with himself. Grandpa, then. Your grandson is bluffing you. We must deal with him today. But at this moment, silly Zhu's voice suddenly came over. Chapter 7. Being a person cannot just think about yourself. You are listening at novel full.audio. You have to deal with me, right? Alright, then don't even think about a good year for the whole hospital. Li Shu now has no relatives, except for a sworn sister, and no relatives. If I could drag the entire courtyard down by myself. This account is worth it no matter how it is calculated. Hey. But soon, Yan Bugui became nervous. Li Shu, you. Don't be impulsive. That's it. Lu Haizhong quickly advised, we can discuss this matter again. Looking at Li Shu a second ago, Yan Bugui and Lu Haizhong still looked polite. Ku turned his head to look at silly Zhu, and his face instantly darkened. Silly pillar. Especially in the bangs, he became addicted to officialdom and immediately straightened his back. Then he glared sharply at the silly pillar and shouted angrily. Second grandpa, what kind of trouble are you causing? Due to the skillful use of Li Shugang's just kick. Damaged the nerve line below the silly pillar, so it won't hurt for too long, but it won't be able to generate tadpoles in the future. In addition, silly pillar has a strong physique, after all, he has been single for 30 years. My body is doing well. Therefore, after resting for a moment, this guy actually doesn't feel much pain anymore. So when silly Zhu looked at the bangs, he could ask questions normally. Tell me for yourself, why did you hit Li Shu last night? As soon as he looked at silly pillar, his eyes and the bangs were so angry that they almost popped out of his sockets. The whole thing can be said to have been caused by this foolish pillar. But this kid still has a, I'm not wrong, face to this day. So Lu Haizhong didn't follow silly Zhu Moji and directly cut into the key point, angrily asking. At this moment, silly Zhu was asked. What is he going to say? Because Li Shu did not agree to marry Tang Ying, did he beat Li Shu up? Silly pillar, if Li Shu hits you today, you deserve it. Seeing the always sharp-tongued silly pillar, he dared not speak up. Su Damao, who had been standing on the side watching the good play, stood up at this moment. Although his relationship with Li Shu is not very good, he is completely an enemy of silly Zhu. When would it be better not to step on him at this moment? Su Damao, your grandson has itchy skin, right? Silly Zhu saw Su Damao jump out, and the fire instantly rushed to the heavenly spirit cover. Raise your fist and hit Su Damao's head. Silly Zhu, you. Don't mess around. After all, there is blood pressure. Su Damao was so scared that he took several steps back when he saw Silly Zhu walking over. Sun Tzu, please don't run away. You were quite. Pillar, that's enough. Just as Silly Zhu was about to vent his anger on Su Damao, Zhonghai suddenly shouted angrily. Silly Zhu usually respects Zhonghai the most. With such a roar, Silly Zhu naturally stopped. Grandpa, take a look, now they. Pillar, let's forget about today's matter. Silly Zhu wants to discuss with Zhonghai again about the matter of handling Li Shu legally. But halfway through his words, he was interrupted by Zhonghai. What? Upon hearing this, Silly Zhu furrowed his brows immediately. Well, that's all. Let's just forget about it. Silly Zhu, are you deliberately trying to prevent all the children in the hospital from going to school in the future? Lu Haizhong has always looked down on silly pillars. Now that Zhonghai has spoken up, Silly Zhu is still thinking of bringing Li Shu to justice. The already full of anger in the bangs is really unbearable. He roared angrily at the silly pillar. Why do I just think that all the children in the hospital won't be able to read? Stupid Zhu was completely confused by Lu Haizhong's words. You idiot, Old Lu. Lu Hai angrily raised his hand and was about to hit the silly pillar. Zhonghai quickly shouted, you calm down. Lao Yi, I left my words here today. I firmly disagree with bringing this matter to justice today. You are an old man, you must consider the reputation of the entire yard. Lu Haizhong knows that he cannot influence the thoughts of the foolish pillar. Therefore, he could only turn his head to look at Zhonghai. Only he can control the foolish pillar. Lao Yi, you can't just ignore the future of other people's children in the yard just because you don't have any offspring. And Yan Bugui's words are even more direct to the point. No room for maneuver is given to Zhonghai. Grandpa, you can't just think about yourself as a person, that's what you often tell us. Due to the strong statements of Lu Haizhong and Yan Bugui. Quickly, more and more people joined in, expressing their absolute disagreement on how to handle today's matter. Their goal is also very simple, it is to preserve the title of civilized and advanced quadrangle courtyard. To maintain the priority of their children's future education and advancement. Although they are poor, they are willing to do whatever it takes to educate their children, even if it is to smash the pot and sell iron. Please rest assured that I won't be able to handle today's matter legally. The whole courtyard has expressed that they do not support legal action. Even if Zhonghai is an old man, there is no other way now. In the end, Zhonghai could only endure the anger and unwillingness in his heart. Promising insincerely to everyone. Grandpa, why is this matter? Shut up. Silly Zhu wanted to fight for it again, but was soon interrupted by Zhonghai's sharp voice. At this moment, Silly Zhu saw various helplessness in Zhonghai's eyes. In the end, Silly Zhu could only shut his mouth and hold back this breath. Chapter 8. Great Bleeding. Foolish Pillar Compensate 50 Yuan. You are listening at novel full.audio. Brother, there really is you. If it weren't for what she saw with her own eyes, Tang Ying would never have believed it. The most arrogant and domineering fool in the yard, after being kicked twice by his own brother. He actually doesn't report to the police station now. Looking back, Tang Ying realized that all of this was expected by her brother. The whole courtyard cherishes the title of civilized and advanced quadrangle courtyard very much. Therefore, once brother is brought to justice, he will expose everything in the yard. These days, reputation is a golden signboard. It's destroyed, but it can't be repaired anymore. Why didn't I think of using this method myself? Because she didn't expect it, Tang Ying became increasingly fond of her brother. She quickly leaned over and whispered praise in Li Shu's ear. And also gave it a thumbs up. Sakura, this matter is not over yet. However, after giving Tang Ying a slight smile, Li Shu immediately lowered his face. He immediately looked at Zhonghai and Silly Zhu. Silly Zhu, the matter between you and me can be considered even. However, you keep harassing my sister Sakura. I now demand that you immediately stop harassing and compensate my sister 50 yuan. After Li Shu regained justice for the original owner, the next step was certainly to reclaim justice for his sister. Silly pillar, this foolish and unremarkable thing, constantly harasses his sister. If this matter is not settled today. Just Silly Zhu, the ultimate licking dog, a hungry and thirsty man who has been single for 30 years. It's unlikely that one day he will have a wild nature and engage in misconduct against Sakura while he's not around. Then everything will be too late. His mother brain was kicked by a donkey. Why should I lose money? Silly Zhu heard that Li Shu actually had to compensate himself, and he still paid 50 yuan. My monthly salary is only 37.5 yuan. Isn't this a lion talking big? And, why should I lose money myself? I didn't do anything outrageous to Sakura myself. Why? You harass my sister every day, which has caused great psychological damage to her. Li Shu knew that Silly Pillar would not lose money. Therefore, Li Shu turned his head directly to look at Zhonghai. Zhonghai, today I am not only going to seek justice for myself, but also for my sister. As soon as Li Shu spoke these words, Zhonghai immediately noticed a change in the expressions of the other people on site. It's the second uncle Lu Haizhong and the third uncle Yan Bugue. They were all looking at themselves with a playful look at the show. It is obvious that they are all waiting for themselves to handle the silly pillar with their own hands. Grandpa, we have already made concessions and cannot handle it, but Li Shu, this kid, is. Pillar, I'll share the money equally with you. Silly Zhu still wants to unite with Zhonghai to refute Li Shu. Who would have thought that the old man he relied on actually agreed directly? A master. At this moment, Silly Zhu thought his ears had hallucinations. You. What did you say just now? Pillar, Tang Ying doesn't like you, why don't you find other girls? The pressure on Zhonghai is very high now. If this matter is not handled well today, it's not just because the silly pillar's reputation is not guaranteed. Including myself, don't expect to have a good life in the future. After all, getting rid of oneself is what Lu Haizhong and Yan Bugue eagerly hope for. Therefore, Zhonghai could only grit his teeth and agree. But this money. What's wrong with asking you to lose money? If Tang Ying accuses you of being frivolous, you kid will definitely squat down. Silly Zhu wanted to say something more, but was immediately interrupted by Lu Haizhong. As soon as he said this, he immediately received the support of Yan Bugue. That's it. Yan Bugue helped the frame of the mirror and then said, Silly Pillar, why can't you understand both good and bad words? Anyway, you don't have to come out with this money yourself. And Silly Zhu is one of the people he hates the most in his daily life. Take this opportunity to stomp on him hard. This is the common voice of Lu Haizhong and Yan Bugue at this time. Pillar, this matter is settled like this. At this moment, Zhonghai spoke again. Even if Silly Zhu is unhappy for 10,000 times, he can only endure it forcefully at the moment. In the end, Silly Zhu and Zhonghai together took out 25 yuan. After raising all the funds, they were handed over to Tang Ying. Silly Pillar, you also have today. At the moment when Silly Zhu paid the money, Li Shu could clearly see that Silly Zhu's face was filled with unwillingness. Just the helpless expression of Silly Zhu, who wanted to kill himself but had no choice. Li Shu looked at it once and enjoyed it. And this controversy has come to a successful conclusion here. Everyone will have to work tomorrow, so in no time, they all left separately. In the ear room, Tang Ying handed over all 50 yuan in her hand to Li Shu. Brother, now that Dad is gone, you will become the head of the family, so you can take this money. Tang Ying knew that her brother was usually very frugal. Therefore, handing the money into his hands is the most secure. Yingzi, this money belongs to you. How can brother take it? But Li Shu waved his hand and then stuffed the money back into Tang Ying's hand. But brother. Don't worry. Tang Ying wanted to persist a little longer, but Li Shu refused. I can still support you. Chapter 9. Exchange of First Level Cooking. You are listening at novel full.audio. Well. Then I'll accept it. Seeing that her brother still refused to accept the money, Tang Ying had to accept it herself. All right. Li Shu nodded and then urged, hurry up and go back to the house to rest. Mm. Tang Ying immediately walked out of Li Shu's ear. Although 50 yuan is definitely a considerable amount in this era. But the reason why Li Shu gave it all to his sister is naturally due to his reasons. This is really not Li Shu boasting in front of Tang Ying. Due to the real man system, Li Shu not only obtained the Master Level 8 Extremes Fist. In addition, he successively beat up the foolish pillar.Yi Zhonghai, and Jia Zhang. According to the current display of the system, Li Shu has accumulated a total of 1,000 courage points. The data is as follows. Kick off the life root of the silly pillar and reward 500 courage points, stun Yi Zhonghai, reward 300 courage points, fan cries Jia Zhang, reward 200 courage points. As long as you are brave enough to fight against the people in the yard in the future, you can gain courage points. After accumulating a certain amount of courage, skills can be exchanged. In the system store, there are many practical and efficient skills. However, based on the current environment in which Li Shu is located. First-level culinary skills. This skill is obviously the most suitable for Li Shu. Coincidentally, the courage required to redeem this skill is 1,000 points. So without any hesitation, Li Shu made the exchange. Soon, Li Shu felt a vast array of culinary skills emerging in his mind. They are as if they have been trained for thousands of years, deeply engraved in their own minds. And currently, all cuisines are perfect. With this state banquet level culinary skills, I'm afraid I won't be able to make money in the future. Through clearing the memory of the original owner, Li Shu discovered that the original owner is also working in the Red Star rolling mill. And like Silly Pillar, they both work in the kitchen. However, Silly Pillar is now in charge, and the original owner is the most ordinary chopping block. The salary is only 20 yuan per month. The current situation urgently needs improvement. This is also the reason why Li Shu chose first-class culinary skills. After fully accepting his first-level culinary skills, Li Shu finally fell asleep with peace of mind. The next day, Li Shu woke up early. After a simple wash, I left early. In no time, Yu also pushed open the door and walked out. Hey! This grandson left earlier than me today. Although the pain is no longer there, Yu will not give up on it. Since we can't touch him in the morning, let's settle accounts with that grandson in the kitchen. Therefore, Yu did not stay and prepared to go to work. But as soon as I took 2 steps, I met Tang Ying, who had also just left. Humph. Since last night's incident, Tang Ying now has a disdainful expression towards Silly Zhu. As soon as they met, Tang Ying let out a cold snort. Then, without looking back, he walked out of the courtyard. Sakura. Stupid pillar with a wicked heart, seeing Tang Ying's current disdain for himself. The whole person's mood was instantly terrible. But now I can only grit my teeth and rush to work. Red Star Steel Rolling Plant is a large-scale steel rolling plant with 10,000 employees. The quality of the products produced here is absolutely guaranteed. Therefore, there are many companies coming to discuss cooperation. And once the bosses or factory directors of these enterprises come to this Red Star Steel Rolling Plant. As the deputy factory director, Li Huai naturally had to invite others to sit down and have a simple meal. Many businesses can only be negotiated at the dinner table. Therefore, the quality of the banquet used for receiving VIPs must be good. At this point, He, who possesses superb culinary skills, came in handy. He, come over here for a moment. Well, it happened to be 10 o'clock in the morning. Huai hurriedly walked into the back kitchen of the cafeteria and named He. What's wrong, Deputy Factory Director? After He put down his work, he quickly followed up. Arriving before and after Huai, He asked. Today, several very important clients will come over to discuss business. You have to show off your skills as a judge. Make more high-quality dishes to entertain them. Because it is a very important customer, Huai must personally find He to discuss this matter. Only He can satisfy Huai. Don't worry. He promised Huai as he patted his chest, I will definitely make a delicious dish that will make them applaud. He then start preparing now. After Huai left this sentence, he hurriedly left. Sun Tzu, hurry up and give me those 2 grass carp. Forget it, I'll do it myself. Originally, He intended to have Li Shu dispose of the 2 grass carp in the tank. But when I think about today being a big customer, I can't be careless. So He shook his head and decided to handle it himself. He immediately caught 2 grass carp and prepared to open their stomachs. But at this moment, He suddenly remembered that grass carp was Tang Ying's favorite food. But this morning Tang Ying's disgusted gaze pierced through He heart like 10,000 arrows. A wave of sourness surged into my heart. Sakura. The distracted He is now filled with Tang Ying in his mind. So much so that he was unaware that his next blow had actually hit his thumb. Ah! When a sharp pain suddenly struck, He suddenly regained his senses. Immediately after, a sharp howl came from the entire kitchen. Chapter 10. Silly Pillar Cutting Fingers. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ouch! Master, why did you cut your finger? Ma Hua was the first to react. With this turn of the head, my eyes instantly widened. Because half of He left thumb was cut off by a knife. That blood was flowing with a clatter, almost staining the grass carp red. What? Did you cut your finger? As soon as Lu Lan heard this, she quickly led a few other young men who were cutting corners to surround her. At this glance, I indeed saw that the grass carp had a half thumb on it. At this moment, He forehead was covered in sweat. Silly pillar, you also have today. Watching He agonizing expression at this moment, Li Shu's heart was simply ecstatic. The most important thing is that this is silly Zhu, who is distracted by himself and has nothing to do with himself. Master, I'll take you to the medical room. However, He still has a group of loyal disciples in the kitchen behind the cafeteria. Among them, Ma Hua is the most loyal to He. It is said that half of He sons have become successful. He quickly supported He while proposing. Silly Zhu, what are you doing? How did you cut off your finger? The relationship between Lu Lan and He is also decent. She naturally also cared about He matter. I see that you usually cut too little, so if you cut it yourself, something happened. Lu Lan supported He while continuing to chatter endlessly. I said you're not finished yet. He didn't want to talk to her, but once Lu Lan opened her mouth, she couldn't stop at all. There's no way, he can only retort. Silly pillar, you. Sister Lu Lan, don't go. You'd better inform the deputy factory director about this matter as soon as possible. Lu Lan had originally planned to go, but now that something big has happened, we need to quickly notify the leaders in the factory. Ma Hua will certainly not let Lu Lan continue to nag. Right. We need to inform Lao Li about this matter as soon as possible. Oh no, go to the deputy factory director. Lu Lan's lips twitched and she even called Li Huai boldly. Then hurry up and go. I'll take my master to the medical room now. Fortunately, Ma Hua, this young man, doesn't have that much ambition. Plus, Lu Lan changed her mind quite quickly. Ma Hua didn't take it seriously either. After speaking, he supported He Yuzhu and planned to leave first. As soon as I left, what happened to the customers' meals this afternoon? He Yuzhu's brain twitched and picked up this matter. Master, are you still thinking about these things now? Hurry up to the clinic and see if we can get your fingers back. Although Ma Hua is relatively young, his brain is exceptionally clear. In his heart, He Yuzhu's fingers are much more important than cooking. At Ma Hua's words, He Yuzhu immediately fell silent. Subsequently, with the help of Ma Hua, he quickly walked out of the kitchen in the cafeteria. In no time, Li Huai rushed into the kitchen in a hurry. What's going on with He Yuzhu? Why did he have to give me such a big deal at this time? As soon as this guy rushed in, the first thing he did was scold He Yuzhu. Regardless of the rain pillar cutting off the finger, it is a work-related injury. However, he cannot be blamed for this. Because the customer has already arrived, we will wait for the time to arrive and then sit down to eat. But now, He Yuzhu from the kitchen in the cafeteria has been taken to the medical room because his finger was accidentally cut off. The chef is gone, so who should make this dish? I said, who dares to take the spoon and cook me a few decent dishes? There was no other choice. Li Huai could only look at Li Shu and others. A dead horse is a living horse doctor. If Deputy Factory Director Li trusts me, can I try making a dish? This is a great opportunity, and Li Shu walked out in response. Young man, I remember you. Were you cutting the block, right? However, Li Huai's impression of Li Shu is only that of the position of cutting pillar. Therefore, if Li Shu needs to stir-fry the dishes, he is still very worried. Deputy Factory Director Li, give me a few minutes and I promise to make you a dish with all the colors, flavors, and flavors. If you keep pretending to be reserved at this time, the opportunity will slip away. Li Shu, who knew this truth well, didn't care if Li Huai had already agreed. He picked up 2 green peppers directly and cut them. Young man, are you? Li Huai originally intended to block it. However, when he saw Li Shu's exquisite knife skills displayed. In my heart, an additional expectation immediately emerged. What a fast knife. In the act of cutting green pepper, Li Shu was as quick as lightning and sliced it almost exactly the same. No wonder others would express such feelings. However, the good news is still to come. After cutting the green peppers, Li Shu immediately grabbed a piece of pork. Accompanied by another rapid swing of his right arm. The shredded meat was even completed between the sumi. Next is to start cooking oil. In a short time, a classic home dish, shredded pork and green pepper, was finished. Okay. It smells so good. When Li Shu placed shredded pork and green pepper on the table. Not only Li Huai, but almost everyone on site shouted this sentence at the same time.